Last week on the Instagram feed, I featured a house that was €8,000 near Mallow in County Cork. And we got a huge reception about it. Everybody was so excited to see any kind of a property coming up under €10,000. So what I wanted to do with this little video is chat through the post, chat through the property, and the kind of things that I think you could probably do with a house like this on 3 different budgets. So let's say maybe 10,000, 50,000 and 100,000. There's loads of people in all those categories. The ones in the 10,000 category, I especially want to give you guys some ideas, because you don't just have to go in and buy a house like this and spend a fortune on it. So what are the options that you have if maybe you only have 10, 15, 20,000 euro and you want to buy Ireland's cheapest house? Okay, so before we get into the nitty gritty of these 3 budgets, I'm going to just run through the property quickly with you all. The main things that stood out to me when I saw it online was the fact that, first of all, it had 0.88 of an acre, which is a huge amount of land for €8,000, regardless of whether there's a house on it or not. Now, when you looked at the pictures that the estate agent had up, obviously they didn't really show a lot. It looked like a ruin. But when you went on to Google Street View, it told a totally different story. What you could see was that back in 2009, there was a fully functioning little cottage there. It had a lovely roof, it had windows, it had everything. I'm going to put a link below. Go and have a look at what is on the Street View for 2009, and then it'll at least show you what was there before. Now, obviously, the house isn't like that now. And a couple of locals got in touch with me after I posted it and said that the previous owners had had misfortune and it had burned down. So obviously, that's the elephant in the room when it comes to the price. But with a cottage that was built maybe 150 or 200 years ago, you're talking 2.5, 3 foot stone walls. There is every chance that the house itself, the structure of the house, might be okay, and that is really, really worth checking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little picture up next of what the site map looked like on Google Maps. I don't really want to share that image from them specifically, but I'm going to show you guys what it looked like using that and the site map from the estate agent's listing. And you can see that as well as the long cottages on the land, there's also little outbuildings on it as well. And they give you options if, let's say, you don't have the budget to do up the whole house straight away. You know, a small outbuilding is a lot easier to put a small roof on than a large cottage is to put a roof on. So keep that in mind as we move forward with our budgets. Okay, so our first tier with the budgets is €10,000. Not a lot more than the price of the house. It doesn't give you a huge amount of options, but what it does is it gives you the chance to buy the house and probably cover your fees and your stamp duty and stuff like that that you need to pay. It might cost you a little bit more depending on the selling price of the house, but all in all, you're not looking at having a lot of money left over after you buy the property. So if you get a house and it's literally 4 walls and no roof, and it's on 0.88 of an acre, and you have zero money left to do anything with it, what do you do? So my suggestion in this situation is, first of all, consider maybe just sitting on it. So buy it for your €8,000 and don't do anything with it. That's an investment in itself. There's a pretty good chance if you got in and you cleaned up around it and you did a little bit of cosmetic work, you kind of, even just any kind of repair work that you could do yourself, you're going to add some value to it. Even if it's landscaping, there's a chance you could add value to it. At the end of the day, the site has had a house on it in the past, and a lot of it is still standing, so there is a chance that maybe you might be able to get planning to build a totally new house on it, or maybe even just, renovate it as it is, which is totally feasible as well. So the thing with the €10,000 is that you're not going to have a massive amount left over to put a roof or anything like that on it. In that situation, you're looking at maybe bringing a mobile in if you can get permission to bring one in. Look at the really, really small outbuildings. If you have a small outbuilding with a really, really small roof, and you can re-roof that in the short term, you can just bunk in there if you need to. I mean, the thing you have to remember with a property like this is, if it was a fully functioning house back in 2009, there's a good chance it had power, there's a good chance it had sewerage, there's a good chance that it had that kind of stuff. And if it did, even having a well on the land or having some sort of a water supply from a previous house that was there would be just such a godsend in a situation like this. It will save you money, and it will mean that you're looking at a house that's not just a totally blank slate of a site. You're looking at a house that has some sort of options for you there to get services in without spending all the money you would have to if you were buying a site from scratch. So with a €10,000 budget, obviously you're going to just have to be frugal. What you need to do is you need to borrow small for individual jobs as you go along. So maybe go to the credit union and get a €10,000 loan, do €10,000 worth of work, pay that back and go again. Get a €3,000 loan, pay it back and go again. That's one of your options with this kind of a property. The next option is, of course, just saving and doing the work when you have the money saved. So if you're buying your little house and you have a full-time job, keep €100, €200 a month. You will be really surprised how far that goes. I know when you see these massive building projects on television and stuff, and €2,000-3,000 is going out like just flying out the windows. That's not necessarily the case when you have no money and you're not spending a lot. But I swear every single penny that you put into your little house is going to just mean so much to you. And because you don't have the money, you're going to choose a lot more wisely what you spend the money on. So yeah, borrow small and do small jobs, or save up and don't borrow at all and just do the jobs as you have the money. A little place like this isn't necessarily going to be somewhere you can move into straight away. But it's a great place for a 5-year plan, for a 10-year plan, for a little retirement house. Anything really at a price like this, you just can't pass it. So when it comes to having a €50,000 budget, I'm kind of going to group into this maybe having 35,000, having 40,000. I want to talk to people who have deposits saved for mortgages at the moment. People who are really struggling to get that last 5,000 in the bank to get to this €230,000 mortgage approval that they really, really want to get to. A lot of you guys have a huge amount of money in your savings at the moment, and you could very easily buy a very, very cheap house like this one and have quite a lot of money left over to do work on it. If you are one of those kinds of people, get a roof on your house. That's what I would do first. Get the roof on the house. Then I would sort out the services. So like, if there was a septic tank on it in the past, if there was a well, if there was ESB in it. Now, obviously, the parts of that there around the structure of the house are not necessarily going to be in great condition. But a septic tank is way down in the bottom of the field, and your ESB is coming from the nearest pole. So even if the stuff right at the house isn't in any way usable condition, you still have a lot of the groundwork laid to use this stuff. Even your well is under the ground, way under it. So there's a chance that this stuff, if it was there in 2009, is still hidden away in the ground somewhere and might actually be usable. So prioritise getting your services working again, getting the roof on the house, and get doors and windows in it. And when I say doors and windows, I don't necessarily mean going out and spending 10 or 15,000 on hardwood handmade windows. Buy second-hand PVC panels if you have to. It's not the end of the world. Get the house sealed up against the weather, get it starting to dry out, and it will just pay back so many dividends that you haven't let this house go into too much disrepair. Obviously, at the moment, it's a ruin, but you just need to look at this at when it was a house that was loved, which is not that long ago, and you putting a bit of love into it and a little bit of money could get it back a lot quicker than just leaving it there and just hoping somebody will come in and build a new house on it in some time in the future. So when it comes to the €100,000 budget, which is the highest one I'm going to go to because I'm just so stingy when it comes to money, I think this is like all the money in the world. So people like that, obviously, if you buy your house for €8,000 or €10,000, there's a pretty good chance you've got quite a lot of money left over to do the work. You're essentially going to have the money to build a new house if you want to. I would advise that you keep the existing house, especially if it's a very, very old structure on it. It would be just so lovely to save it, and to not have a fire be the thing that just totally undid 150 or 200 years of a home being there. But really, you're not going to be that tied down with other stuff. I mean, you can do anything you want with it. And the thing to remember is that if this place isn't bought, or maybe it's bought by like the forestry or someone, it's really just going to sit there and just get worse and worse over the next 10 years. If you were to buy it, and instead of buying maybe a 25 or 30,000 euro site, which is a cheap site still, if you bought this as a site even alone for €8,000, you're really looking at having a lot there that you won't have to put the money into in the future. So hopefully the services are there. The fact that there already was a house there in the past means you probably will be a lot easier for you to get planning permission, to rebuild on it, to renovate it, to extend it. This is all really, really big stuff. So even if your budget isn't tiny, don't rule houses like this out. I see these all the time. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do a video on this, is because this site is exactly like all the sites I see that I share in my digest every Wednesday night. They can say ruin or period dwelling on site or pile of stones in the corner of a field. It still means that there was a house there, and what the estate agent's version of what he thinks that house actually is and how much it's worth and whether it's really a house or really a pile of stones makes absolutely no odds to you, because you're the person that's going to have to live in it and you're the person that's going to have to do it up. So look at sites like this one, look at plots of land, look at agricultural land, and really make an effort to find those really, really cheap houses like this one. So I'm really hoping that this video has made you think a little more about those really, really cheap properties that are out there. They don't come up very often. You need to be ready to pounce when they come up. This specific one is going up for auction on the 24th of February. The price is an AMV, which means it's more of like an assumed market value as opposed to a straight selling price. So, I mean, this place could go for anything. But once you see €8,000 or below €10,000 on something, you need to be ready to jump when this happens. And that's pretty much it. I'm dying to see if one of you guys buy it. Oh, I nearly want to buy it myself. It's not even funny. Look, I'll be back again the next time I see a really, really cheap one that I want to explain to you guys a little bit more about it. In the meantime, don't forget to follow me on Instagram over at Cheap Irish Houses. Don't forget that the digest still goes out every single Wednesday night. It's been going nearly 2 years now, and it has all the cheap houses that come on the market in Ireland every week that I recommend, featured in it with a little description from me. So I jabber on about all of them and why I like them. So you're going to love that. It's a £5 a month, so only $125 a week for that, and it's well worth the money. Other than that, what do I need to tell you guys? Oh yeah, I'll put the link below to the coordinates on Google Maps. I'm going to put the link below to the listing so you can have a look at it, and hopefully one of you guys gets very lucky with your own €8,000 cheap Irish house.